You're worthless. You're stupid. You'll never make it. Why don't you just give up? It's better if you kill yourself. We hate you. Imagine constantly hearing those kinds of voices. And imagine if those voices sounded exactly like those of your loved ones. Well, hearing voices is just one of the symptoms of schizophrenia, which is also known to build feelings of paranoia and insomnia, amongst many others. And schizophrenia affects 1% of the UK population. And obviously we are going to go into this subject quite a lot today, and we do have our resident psychologist with us, Dr Audrey Tang, who's going to be covering the signs, the symptoms and the dangers of this illness. And we also have some other things on the show today for you. We'll be hearing from Nutritionist Sevrine Menem, who'll be telling us how we can get back into a healthy New Year routine after what may have been an unhealthy Christmas period for many. And actually, good nutrition does help anyone with a mental health illness or not as well. And we'll also be seeing how our street reporter Pax Brown got on when he went to relax with the animals at Spitalfields City Farm, which, as we do say to you, going and doing something different and being outdoors is also good for your mental health and well-being. And of course, at the end of the show, I'll be giving you some tips for ways to help a loved one with a personality disorder. And of course, every week on our show, we'll be featuring a good cause. And there are just so many people doing great things out there for others that we just have to feature them here on our show and give them the recognition they deserve. And did you know actually that giving is actually great for our mental health? So this week's good cause is the Canvas Cafe in East London, which is a social enterprise cafe that supports innovation in emotional health and well-being through a variety of interesting events. We'll see how Pax Brown got on there later on in the programme. Now back to this week's mental health issue. Often misrepresented in film and on television, those with schizophrenia are usually passive in nature, with only 5 to 10% actually going on to engage in criminal behaviours. Unfortunately, however, 10% of all schizophrenia sufferers will take their own life as they increasingly fail to understand what is real. So there are many charities out there such as Mind or Sane that offer support services for those suffering from the disorder, which around 280,000 people are treated for it by the NHS. So let's take a look at some tweets on the subject as well. SciFeed says gut bacteria may affect bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. Otaku says, at least I'm holding it together after over 2 decades of handling schizophrenia and depression. This is a war and I'm a warrior queen. So I'm really glad actually to see that you're fighting it, Otaku. And Alison quotes the American novelist Edgar Dactoro saying, writing is a socially acceptable form of schizophrenia. And Leah says, gender dysmorphia is a mental illness, the same category as schizophrenia or paedophilia. The body is not the problem, the brain is. And finally, KQED Science report that the voices that people with schizophrenia hear might sound more like a rustle or a beep. Well, we are going to be getting all the facts from our resident psychologist, Dr. Audrey Tang, a bit later on. But first, I wanted to show you this video courtesy of the Mental Health Channel, which follows young schizophrenia sufferer Margaret, who was tormented by voices and couldn't see a way out from her condition. Let's see her story.
I felt all alone, like no one understood me. I felt like people were trying to kill me. I got in my mom's car and decided I was gonna drive away and never come back. I ended up traveling for 5 days straight with no sleep. I kept driving around in circles and I kept passing this sign that said, amazing things are happening here. I was so scared. I got to the point where I just kind of lost it. Being a schizophrenic has impacted my life. I had to take a year off from school. I haven't worked in a long time, about 2 to 3 years. I've worked as a cashier, but I'm tired of being a cashier. I want to do something that's more challenging. Today is the morning of my job interview, and kind of excited. In the past, I've exposed myself as having schizophrenia on interviews, and they got really turned off by that. I still get stigmatized for the fact that I admit that I have a problem, that I have a mental illness. Why is it that I'm not accepted into society for that? My first psychosis episode, I remember I was at home, I was 21. I was folding clothes in my room, and all of a sudden, the voices just fell on me. I'm actually hearing voices of people I know say horrible things to me. I didn't know where they were coming from. I was terrified because I thought people were spying on me.
We got in the car, and even in the car, we were experiencing, oh my God, Mom, do you hear it? Do you hear it? Do you hear him talking to me?
It's really hard to separate what's real and what's not. Over the course of 2 years, I was hospitalized 4 times. I could have ended up dead, but luckily, my parents took me to the New York Presbyterian Hospital. I finally found out that the sign that I kept passing, amazing things are happening here, was a part of the hospital. And I'm just like, that had to be destiny.
Presbyterian Hospital has this program that they're linked to, and it's called the On Track program.
Hi, Nan. Oh. Amazing things did happen after I got in touch with On Track.
Margaret, I'm so proud of you, and your On Track team is so proud of you. You really know you're gonna make it. The On Track New York team at the New York State Psychiatric Institute is a multidisciplinary team of clinicians. We serve young people who are experiencing the first episode of psychosis.
Margaret and I meet about once every 3 weeks or so, and we go over her medications, and we talk about side effects that she's having. We talk about concerns that she's having.
On Track is more than just therapy and here, take this medication because you have schizophrenia. No, On Track is my family.
Such a big part of our work is building that therapeutic relationship with our young people. You're working with clinicians who care so much about you and really addresses these specific developmentally appropriate issues, right? Like school, like how to get a job.
So I know that you have a big interview coming up today. One of the things to think about in terms of going into this interview is where you see yourself in 5 years and how you think this potential job will help you get there.
I could see myself having my own law firm. Mm-hmm. I am trying to help people. That is my main purpose and my main goal. And standing up for mental health issues is something that very few people are doing at this point in time. Hello, world. Do you feel me? 'Cause I feel you. Oh man, I messed that up. I'm recording a YouTube video for the BAPS movement. Okay. BAPS is the movement of me following my dreams and telling my story. Accept me and love me for being honest. BAPS is BAPS, which stands for being a paranoid schizophrenic. And it also subs for blessed and pursuing success. I get to express myself and tell my story of how schizophrenia affected my life. Being diagnosed almost took me off of the path of going back to school, completing college, finding a job, a good job.
Good afternoon, Ms. Oaks. How are you doing? Please have a seat.
Okay.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I picked the criminal justice field because I'm really interested in working for the greater good and to help people who are less fortunate about it.
Today, Margaret is truly living her life to the fullest. There's no limits. There's no limits, only forward from here.
Well, it was nice meeting you, Margaret.
You as well,
We'll be in touch.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Here we are, almost 2 years.
Yeah,
You can
right?
Believe it.
It feels like it's been more than 2 years since I know you.
I will be very sad because you're graduating from On Track, you know?
me too.
And I'm so happy that you finally see yourself the way I see you.
Oh, I love you so much, man. we kind of let fear take over us. But you have to learn how to overcome that fear. You just have to show this illness that you're better than that. You just gotta be a better you. You know, I'm still blessed. I'm still here. I'm still living. I'm still breathing. That's a blessing in itself.
Well, thank you very much to the Mental Health Channel for that video. And if you want to know more about them, please do visit our website, chrissybshow.tv, and click on our contributors section, and you'll find more information about them there. Well, after the break, as I said earlier, we'll be joined by our resident psychologist, Dr. Audrey Tang, and we'll also be catching up with street reporter Pax Brown, who's been spending some time with the animals at Spitalfields City Farm. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, where we've been discussing the mental health topic of the week, which is schizophrenia. So, as I said earlier, we do now have our resident psychologist with us, Dr. Audrey Tang, who is actually going to be telling us about the video that you watched earlier. Welcome to the show, Audrey.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Lovely to have you back.
Oh, it's lovely to be here.
Okay, so we watched that brilliant video from the Mental Health Channel.
Yes.
What did you think of what that young lady was going through and how she's actually dealing with it now?
One of the most poignant moments is when she looks at the camera and says she's stigmatized. And that's so heartbreaking, because certainly in most of the Western countries, that's exactly what happens with schizophrenia. And when she talks about being stigmatized just for admitting she has a mental health problem, that's so sad. And when you listen to her, she's absolutely lucid at that when she's taking the video, but she does talk about the symptoms, which are very common in schizophrenia. So it's a very nice overview, a very, very good overview. I've seen a lot of videos similar to this one. This is one of the better ones.
It is. It was really good. And I actually like the fact that she did the kind of help she was getting.
Yes.
So she didn't feel like she was all by herself, that, you know, she was the only one going through something like this. She was getting help for job interviews and all sorts of things, and that's so important, isn't it?
It's very important to remain part of the community, but what's also very significant is the supportive nature of that community. And one of the problems for people with schizophrenia can actually be, once they've had their treatment and they return to their community, if it's not supportive, if it's very emotionally charged, that can actually cause a relapse, and that's a real shame.
Okay. Well, can you just tell us a bit more about schizophrenia? Give us the overview and like what a person should look out for and things like that.
It is a physiological disorder in that there is a change in the brain. It seems to be an excess of dopamine, and also there are differences in a brain with schizophrenia and a brain without. Unfortunately, because most of this does tend to be post-mortem, it's very difficult to see what causes it. However, research has seemed to show that males who have schizophrenia, there's often, not always, but research shows there's often due to trauma at birth, and with females it's more common that the mother was exposed to a viral infection. It's just the way the research has come out. It's usually categorised, the symptoms are usually categorised as positive or negative. Now what I mean by that is the positive symptoms are extra to what we'd consider as normal behaviour. So it might be delusions, which are the most common symptom, hallucinations, paranoia, but then the negative symptoms are taking away from normal behaviour. So it might be a catatonic state, just freezing for long periods of time, or a very low level of emotional engagement, not being able to respond emotionally, withdrawing. Often people with schizophrenia do suffer from depression as well, but it's not to be confused as part of the same thing. It's two separate disorders.
Okay. And is it actually possible for a person to be living with schizophrenia their whole life and not actually realise or other people to pick up on it? Or is it something so obvious that, you know, it can't be denied?
Often it gets worse, I think, is the problem. Where it's easier to mask is when the symptoms may mirror if you're experimenting with recreational drugs, or and that's where a lot of males tend to develop it in their teens, purely because that is the time where men do tend to do that. There has been some research which suggests that estrogen in women, the hormone, does tend to sort of negate some of the symptoms. So, but again, that's only one piece of research. So again, how much can we take from that? But if you are experimenting with drugs, it can cause you to become paranoid, it can cause you to have delusions, it can cause you to hallucinate, hear voices. But if that is going on over a long period of time, if that person then starts really withdrawing from university life or college life or whatever it is they were previously involved in, that would be a warning signal. Okay. And what we tend to say is look out for clusters of those behaviours together. It's just somebody who maybe says they've heard voices on a one-off occasion. It could be something completely different. It could be night terrors. It could be something else. Yeah. But or it could be multiple personality disorder as well, which is, I know, something that people do tend to confuse with schizophrenia. So whilst it's possible usually when it's onsetting, by the time it really takes hold, sadly, it's not quite so possible anymore. And what people with schizophrenia have got to realise is that medication is the way of actually managing those symptoms, and it is really important.
Okay. And who tends to, is there like someone that tends to get it more, like age group, or well, you said the teens with the boys, but
yes.
What about gender as well?
There is a gender difference. It does tend to be teens for men, and it does also the symptoms tend to get less severe as men get older. However, with women, it tends to be around 30 or above, and their symptoms can actually worsen as they get older. Okay. So, but as I say, if you're over 30 and you're male and you are having those clusters of symptoms, do get help for it. It's just a pattern, not definite, this is what happens.
Okay, and you mentioned multiple personality disorder. Yes. What is the difference then with that and schizophrenia?
Multiple personality is when you almost have personalities existing in the same person. So whilst somebody with multiple personality disorder will also hear voices, it is always the specific voice of the other character that inhabits their body. No, it's not random. Okay. Whereas with schizophrenia, it can be more random. Okay. With multiple personality disorder, the most famous case was the case of Eve, and it's Eve White, Eve Black, and Jane that were the three women in the same body. And with multiple personality, we don't always recognise that there are other people that will appear. You tend to lose time and almost experience like a sort of a blackout. Yeah. But a lot of people will say something like Fight Club is a clear demonstration of schizophrenia. Sometimes they say Primal Fear, two of the sort of big films that were around. Primal Fear is one of the biggest examples of I'll say, I don't want to give away the spoiler, but multiple personality disorder, feigned or not feigned. Fight Club, arguably, you can say that may well be a film version of representing schizophrenia, but because it turns out that the character is a delusion. So you could argue it was perhaps more schizophrenic. But another famous schizophrenic would be Joan of Arc. If you want a good representation on film as well, it's A Beautiful Mind. The mathematician John Nash also suffered from schizophrenia. Okay. What's also worth mentioning, and just bringing back to the video as well, is that a lady in the video sought help from her church. There are some cultures that don't recognise schizophrenia because in those cultures, hearing voices, having delusions, they can be part of a religious experience. And what's actually quite nice in some ways is whilst there isn't so much treatment for it, there isn't the same stigma either. So there will be some cultures which won't recognise schizophrenia and won't have any examples of schizophrenia in that particular area. But that's not to say people aren't suffering from the symptoms, but in the West, we do tend to diagnose it.
Diagnose everything in the West, don't we?
Yes, we do. And then we write it in the DSM.
The things there, which you know very well, by the way, I have to say. So all these quotes all the time. But just a final question, Audrey. For a person that is going through it, apart from taking the medication, is there anything else that they can do to help themselves?
It's sometimes about making sure your support network is genuinely a support network. One of the saddest things, and this is another film which not many people know about, but I do actually recommend watching this. It's called Family Life, and it was based on R.D. Laing, who studied mental illness, his notes and his experiences with mental illness. And it tells the story of a young lady who is in a very highly emotionally charged family, and you can see them talking over each other. They'll say something, but no one will listen. And that sort of atmosphere is not helpful for someone with schizophrenia or someone who's recovering.
Yeah.
And sadly, one of the biggest pieces of research to come out of the 60s was that if you have been able to get through with treatment and you're managing your symptoms, if you go back into that environment, you relapse straight away. And so it's really important that your support network is a positive support network. Also, don't withdraw too much, because it is possible. It's more women than men tend to hold down jobs with schizophrenia. But do keep being involved in the community. Do volunteer. Try and keep from withdrawing, because of course that's one of the symptoms of schizophrenia, as is paranoia. But keeping out in the community, especially when it's supportive, will help boost your self-esteem, help ward off things like depression as well. So it's important.
Audrey, I just say it was a final question, but something else has come to my mind now. We do have a couple of extra minutes. I am reading your brilliant book that you've written on how to be a great manager. I'm really enjoying it. I do recommend that to our viewers. And I do know that you work in employment and everything. So I just wanted to ask, with someone that does have schizophrenia or another mental health condition that can be quite serious, is it a good idea to speak to your employer about it or mention it in the interview, or is that just something like a personal thing, do you think?
It's always a personal thing, but if it's mentioned, your employer has got to do something about it. They have to make some sort of accommodation for it. Even if it's as simple as suffering from asthma, if your office is 3 flights of stairs up, you may be able to have some kind of way of either bringing the office downstairs or something like that. So it's always personal choice, and you don't have to. You're not forced to disclose.
So it's not going to come back on you,
But it's also worth recognising that occupational health and things like a disciplinary procedure are 2 separate tracks. So don't ever think that you can be fired for being sick. Occupational health has to deal with that first.
All right, because I know that's a concern for a lot of people, isn't it?
It's always a personal choice, though. I will stress that.
Brilliant. Audrey, thank you so much again for your input, marvellous input, and we'll see you again very soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Now, we're always looking for fun and different places for you to visit, all with the aim of improving your mental health and well-being. And it's no secret that being around animals makes us feel happier, with animal therapy now prevalent in homes, schools and hospitals up and down the country. So with that in mind, we sent our presenter Pax Brown out to Spitalfields City Farm to get up close and personal with the animals there. Here's how we got on.
Hi, Stephen.
Hi, how are you doing?
How are you? Good, thanks. Jack, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Can you tell us a bit about this area of the farm then? You've got cows, you've got goats.
Yeah, so this is what we call a paddock. As you say, we've got the cows, we've got the goats. Behind me, we've got the donkeys, including the miniature donkeys. We have the gardens, and then we actually end up in what we call a farmyard. Chickens, the ducks, the ferrets, things like that.
So could you tell me a bit about the location? Obviously, we're in the heart of East London here.
Yeah, we've got Whitechapel just over there. We've got Brick Lane over to my left. We've got the Gherkin and the centre of London. We're so lucky we've got this little oasis so close to right in the centre.
Brilliant. Let's have a look around then. So we're going to go into the yurts now. Let's have a look, guys. So we're in the Mongolian yurts now, and you rent this out, understand?
Yeah, for lots of different uses, birthday parties, different events. Yeah, it's lovely and warm, especially in the winter. This is is where we collect all the rainwater off the roof of this building, and we can use it obviously to water all the plants here.
Right guys, probably my favourite part of the farm now. What we've got here, the Bug Hotel.
Yeah, so we call it the Bug Hotel. The idea is there's habitats for lots of different types of insects. You see all the holes drilled into big bits of wood. They're actually for bees.
And then what are the other holes for? Are they specific insects or?
Out here, you're obviously just going to get a massive range of insects, but hopefully we've provided a home and a habitat for lots of them.
Can you tell me a bit about this road? Because it seems like it's an actual town road.
Many of the actual paths here, or what we call paths, were actually old roads. When the site was established as an actual city farm, the roads were closed off, so as you see, it's the original cobbles. In the gardens where we just were, I know there were some houses which unfortunately were actually bombed during the war.
Got a kid space here.
I think the best thing about it is this virtual beehive.
Look, I'm a beekeeper now. So I'm guessing many people here are volunteers as well, right?
We do have a very large bank of volunteers who yeah, I say make all the cogs go round, and we really appreciate everything they do.
Okay, Stephen, well, thank you so much for everything. It was really lovely to come to the farm.
No, thank you. Thanks for visiting.
Brilliant. All right, guys, that was Spitalfield City Farm. What a lovely place. Check it out.
Thank you very much, Pax. Well, after the break, we'll be having our weekly nutrition section, and this week is with Sevrine Menem, who'll be showing us how we can change our mindset after an unhealthy period and get back into a healthy routine. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back to The Chrissy B Show, everyone. Now, are you still struggling to lose some of that Christmas weight? Maybe you haven't even begun to try yet. So we all know that once we get stuck into routine, whether good or bad, it's quite difficult to break out of it. And that's never more true than when we eat. So here to help us change our negative mindset and get back into the swing of eating healthily is nutritionist Sevrine Menem. Hello, Sevrine.
Hi.
Lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And you are going to help me and the viewers today because I need a little bit of help as well. But first, can you tell us a bit about your background, how you got into nutrition in the first place?
Yeah, I got into nutrition because as a teenager I was really depressed. Mm-hmm. So I went to see the GP who gave me some antidepressants, but it didn't really work. So I decided to try a different way to change my diet and lifestyle. And I found out that I was actually intolerant to gluten. So every time I eat gluten, I get down and a bit depressed.
Wow, sometimes it can be something as simple as just something in your diet that actually makes you feel down.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you stopped eating gluten and you saw the benefits, that must have been such a relief.
Yeah, actually, when I stopped eating gluten for 2 weeks, it got worse.
Oh, really?
Yes. Oh. And I found out it was withdrawal symptoms, and then it got much better.
Okay.
So now I know.
And now you feel good and everything.
I feel amazing now.
And that's what sparked you to get into nutrition side of things.
Yeah, I wanted to understand how come. And that's why I started to learn nutrition, and that's why now I'm a nutritionist.
Okay. So tell us about how foods can get addictive and why certain things are so addictive.
I think not every food is addictive because you don't get addicted to broccoli, for example. But you would definitely get addicted to sugar. Mm-hmm. And they found out, they did an experiment with rats actually, and they found out that rats are more addicted to sugar than cocaine. So that's how addictive sugar can be on the human body.
Okay. And obviously, is it okay to have a little bit of sugar, or is
it's always okay, but it becomes very addictive, and then you get sugar cravings, and then it's when to stop. So it's better to have a healthy diet.
Okay. Well, can you give us, because we're going to be showing a couple of quick recipes afterwards.
Yes.
But can you tell us, for those of us include myself, that put on a bit of weight over Christmas and they're trying to get off. What's the best way to start and maybe to get into a good routine? Because obviously Christmas period, we get into bad habits and then it's hard to break them, as I said earlier. What would your advice be, Sevrine?
Well, I think the first thing that a lot of people do is dry January. So I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
And maybe to reintroduce a lot of water and fresh fruit and vegetable.
Okay. So how much is it like the recommended that they say?
Yeah,
like
5 a day is good, but you should aim at 7 or 9.
7 or 9?
Yes, if you can.
And would that be mostly like vegetables or?
Mostly vegetables, but I think January is good because it's usually warm. Warm. Cold, obviously. And you can have soups and you can use lots of vegetable in soups.
Okay. Any other tips that you got for our viewers on how to actually stick to maybe like some healthy things, habits in
how to stick to it?
Yeah.
Plan it. I think for me that's the only solution to stick it in the long term.
Okay, planning.
So
writing everything down.
Yeah, write a menu for the week and then get the grocery for the week and then just cook in advance and freeze it or do boxes, and that's how I did it.
Okay. Sometimes the issue that people have with healthy eating is that they say that it's boring or that maybe it takes too long to do. What you're actually going to be showing us a few recipes.
It's very quick, yes. It's not boring, it's just because I don't want to try something new.
She just says it straight, doesn't she? All right, so we're going to go over to our, I won't say kitchen, but to our bar area now. And Severine's going to show us a few quick things that are super healthy. And she's going to be telling us why these particular things that she's going to make are good for us and why we should be eating them. So Sevrine, you're going to show us a couple of recipes, but first of all, before, when a person first wakes up, what's the first thing they should do?
I think the best thing to do is to have a glass or a cup of warm water with lemon juice, half a lemon in warm water. And it has many good properties, but the main 3 ones is it helps kick off the digestion for what you're going to have. It helps with bowel movement and it boosts your immunity. And immunity is really important in winter.
Okay. And I myself normally have a glass of apple cider vinegar, or a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in cold water. Do you think the lemon's better to have, or should I stick with the apple cider vinegar?
I think the lemon is better for the morning, but apple cider vinegar with water is great before bigger meals. Unless you have a huge meal in the morning, I don't know.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, I'll start doing the lemon and water then, definitely. So what we're going to start with, Sevrine?
This one is an alternative to the usual breakfast, which is juice and cereals, because juices are not that healthy actually. They're usually fruit juices, plenty of sugar, and then you get cravings in the morning. So
are you talking about the juicing that we do?
Even the juicing that we do, most people they have fruit juices instead of having vegetable juice.
Okay, so it's better to have the vegetable.
It's always better to have a vegetable juice, even if you have like 1 apple or 1, orange in the juice to give it a bit of sugar.
Okay, all right, that's good. Right.
So the first recipe is egg muffins, and it's an alternative to the usual breakfast, and it's savory, and it's good because it has everything. It's got 3 of your 5 a day, 3 vegetables. It's got eggs and for the protein, and it's got grated cheese. I don't remember which one.
Okay, but it's a cheese, right?
But it is cheese, so it's protein and it's calcium, so it's good. So you can choose any type of vegetable, like leftovers, but this I picked this particular 3 for a reason. The first one is pepper, because pepper are really high in vitamin C, and it really helps to boost the immune system. The onions are really good as prebiotics, so to help the probiotic thrive in your gut. And also the antibacterial foods. So if you're not feeling that well, it's great. And the spinach are part of the green leafy vegetable family. So this means plenty of magnesium, calcium, and folate.
It's great to have first thing in the morning. It gives you that boost.
Yes.
Instead of the caffeine.
Yeah, well, you can always have your caffeine, but I think if you start with that, maybe you won't feel like having your caffeine.
Yeah, okay.
So it's very simple. Basically, you prepare all the ingredients. You take your muffin tin. You just, we're just going to prepare 3, so that's You just place a bit in each. And then
I mean, these are things that you could maybe prepare the night before.
Yeah,
isn't it,
exactly.
to save some time, just chop it all up, keep it in there.
Well, the good thing with it is you can either prepare it before, cook it the night before, and just have it cold or reheat it. Oops.
Yeah.
I should have just. Or you can prepare it the night before and just put it in the oven while you're taking a shower and getting ready. It's usually cooked in about 20 minutes at 200 degrees.
Okay.
So you just place all the vegetables,
do, isn't it?
and
Okay.
then you whisk. Usually it's 2 eggs for, it depends on the size, but
Yeah.
like that. Place on top, oops, fill it.
Okay, and how many so 2 eggs will make about 3?
2 eggs would make between 3 and 4. It actually depends how much vegetable you put.
Okay.
And I usually just add a bit of cheese on top.
Okay.
Because I like my cheese, I'm French.
Okay, of course.
That's why. And here it is.
Super simple.
Super simple, yeah. Just 20 minutes.
Nutritious and delicious.
Very nutritious and very delicious.
Okay.
Yes.
And obviously you could add salt and things like that, like maybe the
Yeah, you can add salt and
healthy
pepper, but you don't have to because I think there's already salt in the cheese.
Oh, right,
That
yeah,
should be
that's
fine,
true.
but pepper is good.
Okay, so we don't have one to show you, but we do have a photo coming up
Yes.
on your screen now because we don't have an oven in the studio yet, guys. So sorry about that. And what's the second thing that you have here
So
for us?
I'm just going to put that down to make some space. The second thing is a dessert with a superfood. We've
Okay.
all heard about chia seeds.
Yes.
Do you know why they're superfoods?
Has it got something to do with clearing the?
Yeah, it helps
gut and
with
stuff?
bowel movements, but it's really rich in protein, in omega-3, and in lots of minerals. So yeah, it's really good, magnesium in particular. So it's very easy. Basically, you take, I only need 3 ingredients, so chia seeds, yogurt, and strawberries in this case, but you can use any fresh berries.
Okay.
So you take 1 or 2, I think 1 is enough, tablespoon of chia seed. You mix it with yogurt.
Okay.
And it does a really weird mixture, I have to say. But it's normal. The first time you have it, you might not like it, but then if you try another time, it's really delicious. And it's very important that it looks good. I think it tastes always better when it looks good.
Yeah.
So you take, I like to take a transparent glass to make it look good. So I do 1 layer, oops, and then 1 layer of fruit. Oops,
Okay.
that's not that easy in this glass. And then another layer.
It's a healthy trifle.
It is
Kind
kind
of.
of a healthy trifle, yes.
I mean, chia seeds, they don't really taste strong, do they? Like or much of
No,
anything.
they
But
don't.
they're just so packed full of goodness.
Yeah. So that's what it could look like. But basically, you have to let it stay at least 1 hour in the fridge, so that the chia seed absorb the moisture from the yogurt, and then they will grow a bit, and they won't be as crunchy as if you eat it just now.
Okay. And would you maybe add some honey to that or something? Or to
Yeah,
make
you
it a
could,
bit
but honey is
sweeter?
sugar, and usually, I mean, that's enough.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. You need to go cold turkey when you want to reduce your amount of
I'm
sugar.
still trying to get the sugar in there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, honey is really good, especially in winter. If you've got a sore throat, definitely have that. But otherwise, try to kick off the habit and just try to reduce or just not use it.
Okay. And just one final question, Sevrine. Is this something like this good to have maybe in the morning, or is it more maybe something like after dinner or like a dessert kind of?
I think it's a great dessert.
Okay, yeah.
It's a great dessert. It's got calcium, it's got omega-3, it's got protein. It's a great dessert. You can have it anytime.
Brilliant.
I would have it anytime.
Some great ideas. Thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
Sevrine, for coming on the show today and helping myself and also the viewers at home. That's great.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, don't go away, because after the break, we'll be covering our good cause of the week, and that's the Canvas Cafe in East London. And I'll also be speaking about 4 ways to help a loved one with a mental health issues such as schizophrenia. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone. Now, as I mentioned earlier, every week we'll be featuring a good cause, whether that be a charity, organisation, business or individual that's doing great things for mental health and well-being. Our first good cause of 2017 is Canvas Cafe just off Brick Lane in East London. Let's take a look at how Pax Brown got on when he visited recently.
Hello. Hi there, I'm Jack. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Brilliant, so this is the lovely Canvas Cafe, guys. They'll have an espresso, and ooh, I think I'm gonna try that chocolate cake. We're gonna go sit downstairs, guys. Let's go. Wow, isn't it gorgeous? Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much. Brilliant, thank you. Very kind. Oh, wow, it looks beautiful. So, guys, I'm here with Anna, the assistant manager of the Canvas Cafe, London's first, and probably the UK's first happy cafe. Is that right?
London's first. I believe there was one before us in the UK, but now there's like several popped up. It's in association with Action for Happiness, which is an organization that does a lot of courses and a lot of events to support mental health and well-being, and their patron is the Dalai Lama, so they try to bring like the positive message of being kind and feeling better through that. We're a non-profit social enterprise, so we're a place for the community, for everyone, anybody who feels like they want to hang out. We also do like a paid forward board for people who can't afford to have food or drinks, so they can come and grab a coffee for free. So literally everybody's welcome. The main point is to encourage the whole community to sort of bring together all of the assets and then work together. In the winter time, there's less going on here, but in the summer you can like have some wine, and we'll have some live jazz and things like that going on here.
Wow, live jazz as well.
Yes.
Amazing.
And here we have the Museum of Happiness. They are an organization that works with us. We have different events there, from laughter yoga to ukulele workshops, and soon we'll be setting up a ball pit for adults in there. So anybody who's tired from their workday in the office nearby can pop in and have a little ball pit time with their friends.
What sort of other mindfulness activities do you conduct?
I think there was one together with Action for Happiness, so where they would teach people how to deal with their own empathy and how to be more empathic towards people. So like they had a course for a few months. They meet up every like Thursday evening and they talk about their experiences, and with a good person who would give them psychological advice about how to deal with those issues and things like that.
Well, Anna, thank you so much. It was lovely being at the Canvas Cafe with you. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for coming. It was a pleasure to have you here.
That was the Canvas Cafe, guys. Lovely atmosphere, lovely food, lovely staff. Check it out.
So thank you very much, Pax, and to the Canvas Cafe there. So now I'm going to be covering some tips on helping someone with schizophrenia. So these points are actually taken from helpguide.org, and I'd like to cover a few of them today as I think they're really important. And actually some of these can be applied when dealing with any family member or friend with any kind of mental health issue. So the first very important one is to take care of yourself. So they're saying that schizophrenia places a really incredible amount of stress on family, so it can actually take over your life and even burn you out. So if you're stressed, you'll make the person with schizophrenia stressed. So it's really important to take care of yourself and find healthy ways to relieve stress. So they're suggesting things like connecting with others, because social interaction with someone who cares about you is the most effective way to actually relieve this stress, and I think we can all relate to that. And also find someone that you can actually connect with face to face. So sometimes you can talk, to someone, but if it's kind of interrupted and there's distractions or it's over the phone, it's not going to be as effective. So make sure you are face to face with someone, that person isn't judging you and they're not distracted. So that person could be a friend, a family member, maybe a clergy member or a professional therapist. And also they're suggesting, of course, as we always speak about on this program, get regular exercise, because as we know, physical activity reduces stress and releases endorphins and powerful chemicals in your brain that energize your spirit and make you feel good. So they're saying to aim for around 30 minutes of activity on most days, or if it's easier, 3 10-minute sessions. Of course, you also need to eat a healthy diet, so what you eat has a direct impact on the way you feel, as we heard from our nutritionist, and also minimize sugar and refined carbs and foods that quickly lead to a crash in mood and energy, and boost your intake of omega-3 fatty acids from things like fatty fish, fish oil, walnuts, and flax seeds to help improve your focus, energy, and outlook. And something else that they're suggesting on the website is to seek out joy. So I know it's kind of seems like you shouldn't really be enjoying yourself when there's a family member that's going through so much, but actually making time for fun, it's not indulgent, it's actually necessary. So make sure you schedule this into your day, things that you enjoy, whether it's going out, walking, appreciating nature, visiting friends, or even reading a good book. And also look after your own health. So neglecting your health will only add to the stress in your life. So make sure you get enough sleep and stay on top of any medical conditions. And, as we said, it's not just for people with family members with schizophrenia, any kind, and if you're dealing with any family member that's going through some kind of problem, that's going through a mental health issue, you always need to look after yourself first, because what support can you give them if you're not okay? The second point is to build your support network. So to better support and care for someone with schizophrenia, you need to find help, encouragement, and understanding from others. And you also actually need to recognize your own limits. So be realistic about the level of support and care that you yourself can provide, because you can't do it all. And you won't actually be much help to your loved one if you're exhausted. So make sure that you do ask for help where you can. And of course, there are support groups that you can join. Meeting others who know firsthand what you're going through can really help reduce feelings of isolation and fear. And of course, support groups provide, an invaluable venue for the relatives of people with schizophrenia to share experiences, advice, and information. And also what you could do is turn to trusted friends and family members. And you could ask loved ones maybe if you can call them for support when you need it. And don't think that you're actually being a burden. I think this is something that stops a lot of people from actually asking for help. They're thinking, I don't want to bother that person. I don't want to, take up their time. But actually, that person will feel special. They'll actually feel that they're valued and that you trust them. So don't be afraid of actually asking for help from people. And also what you can do is seek out new friends. So if you don't feel that maybe you have anyone to turn to, it's never too late to build new friendships and improve your support network. And do please take advantage of support services. So you can ask your loved one's doctor or therapist about maybe respite services and other support available in your area. And you can also contact local hospitals and mental health clinics. The third tip is to actually encourage treatment. So often one of the first challenges of treatment is actually convincing the person with schizophrenia to see a doctor or to get some kind of help. And if they are actually already prescribed medication, do keep an eye on them to see how they're doing and watch out for any side effects as well. And also another tip that's very, very important, tip number 4, is to prepare for crisis situations. So make sure that you have an emergency plan ready if needed. So a good emergency plan for someone with schizophrenia includes emergency contact information for your loved one's doctor and therapist, and also the address and phone number of the hospital, which is also very good. And also friends or relatives who will take care of other children or dependents while you deal with the crisis. And something that they're suggesting, which I think is very important, is to go over the emergency plan with your family members. So the crisis situation may be less frightening to your loved one if they know what to expect during an emergency. And also, just to bear in mind, sometimes I think family members get quite stressed out, but remember, it's not always possible to actually reason with someone that has acute psychosis. So the person might actually be really terrified of what they're going through, what they're feeling, and maybe they're losing control. So don't show that maybe you're getting irritated or that you're angry. Something very important is, not to shout or not to use sarcasm. And maybe also decrease distractions. So you can turn off the TV, the radio, if there's like bright lights everywhere, turn all those off and just make sure that the environment is as quiet as possible. But there are lots and lots of other tips on the website if you do want to check those out and to help a family member. But I think in everything that I've said through the tips, I think the first one is so very important, actually looking after yourself, because family members do go through so much when they're trying to help a loved one. And I know I put my parents through hell when I was going through depression and the panic attacks. They didn't know how to help me. When I was going through those problems, it wasn't so mental health issues weren't really talked about. I never used to hear it on the news, or not like it is today. So it was they never actually asked for help. They never went, even though I was taken to the doctor, but they didn't ask for support or help for themselves. So I think it's very, very important nowadays it's completely different. There's lots of support for family members, and don't feel guilty for taking time out for yourself, because you'll be doing yourself a favor and also your loved one. All right, guys, so that's all that we have time for on today's program. And if you have actually had an experience with someone, maybe a family member with schizophrenia, maybe you'd like to tell us how you deal with it, maybe the tough times and how you actually dealt with them. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us on info@chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show, or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. And I'd just like to leave you with one more thing before we go. I actually had a friend who had schizophrenia, and I say had because sometimes people say that mental health issues are for life. Now, I remember actually speaking to her, and I could tell that she was distracted. And when I would ask, what's going on, she said she could hear all these voices. The voices were swearing at me, the voices were swearing at her, telling her all sorts of things. But she actually did get help in the end for what she was going through. She had the medical help, but she also got some spiritual help as well. So don't underestimate the power of tapping into your spiritual side in these situations, because today she's completely well. She doesn't hear the voices anymore. She's got a good job. She's doing really well in life. But she actually combined, the physical help from the doctors and all the other stuff with the spiritual, and now she's doing really, really well. So remember, mental health issues don't have to be for life. Don't think that they are a part of you, that this is you and that's it and there's nothing you can do about them. There's always something that you can do. Well, guys, I do have to go now, so until next time, bye-bye for now.
So can you tell me about...
We'll see how Pax Brown got on there later on in the programme. Sorry. Now back to this week's mental health issue of the week. Now, Okay, so now it's time to get the facts from our resident psychologist, No, it's not. All right, guys, so as we always do for you guys, I can say guys so many times. I'm going to do that bit again. Guys. Sorry. Now, as I mentioned earlier, every week we'll be featuring a good cause, whether that be a charity, an organisation, business or individual. That's doing a great